Hello and welcome to Our Savior's United Church of Christ here in Ripon, Wisconsin. This is another section of things I get asked, and one of the questions I get asked is, do miracles still happen? And that's a fascinating question. I believe they do still happen. I also believe in Western cultures like Europe and the US, they're very difficult for us to understand and process, and the reason is that we've adopted an intellectual framework, a framework of how we think that actually limits the world. It elevates reason and science over everything, but also gives us a distorted perception of how we perceive reality. It tries to reduce things down to 5 primary senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, as if those are the only senses we have, and it assumes they perceive reality correctly. And that's not necessarily the case. And so what we have a history of doing is trying to eliminate an understanding of miracles, that if it doesn't fit with science and reason, then it didn't happen, or nothing happens outside of the laws of science, that they're set, and there is no flexibility, there's no movement, and there's no change. I had a professor in college who used to teach that God did miracles, but always did them within the framework of the rules of the universe and never violated the rules of the universe, but actually worked. Different people think differently about it. My issue in part is our perceptions of reality. I actually don't believe our perceptions are designed to give us an accurate portrayal of reality. I believe that our senses were set up to give us a functional portrayal. Let me explain it this way. Just to add to this, there's more than 5 senses. There's a lot more ways in which we perceive and interact with reality. For example, we sense heat and cold. There was a Nobel Peace Prize just went out for researchers who discovered how the heat and cold sensing works, which is separate from touch. And we thought it was part of touch. It's not. That's another sense. Another sense that people don't even realize is a sense is that if you close your eyes and someone told you to stick your left hand straight out to the side, you would be able to do it because your body is programmed with sense perception as to how to function in 3-dimensional space. That's separate than touch, taste, hearing, sight, or sound. And so we realize we have so many more senses, but we also realize that our bodies are designed to do certain things. We know that time and space are tied together. We know that as you move faster, time slows down. Our senses are not designed to perceive time correctly. They're designed to perceive time functionally. So, for example, this is a classic experiment. You could put someone at a starting line, standing there with a stopwatch, someone in a car, and they rev it up, and they have a stopwatch, and you both hit the stopwatch at the exact same time, and they shoot down the race course and cross the finish line, and you both stop the stopwatches at the exact same time. When the person in the car comes together and the person on the race course, if you line up the stopwatches and they're accurate enough, you will see that one will be 9.9999999999999, and one will be 10. And they'll be slightly off because the car that accelerated slowed down. And when they get together, their time realigns, but we're not designed to perceive that. We're designed to perceive time as linear causality because it helps us to function, to enjoy life, to be productive, to have relationships. So to say miracles can't happen is interesting, because that's like trying to limit things that happen to a limited view of our perceptions. Is God able to suspend God's own laws? I believe so. Does God do it? I believe so. Have I encountered people and experiences where this happened? Yes. I had a colleague who was diagnosed with a disease, and life-threatening. They took all kinds of tests and scans the day before the surgery was scheduled, and his entire abdomen was filled with the disease, and they knew if they didn't operate, he was going to die. The next day, when there was an all-night prayer visual throughout the entire state we were living in at the time, the next day they opened him up, and when they went inside, there was no disease found. The day before, they could see it all over the tests. The next day, there was no disease found. Is that a miracle? I think so. Does God do miracles? Yes. Are they extravagant? Are they huge? No. I think the bigger miracles that God does is what God is about is restoring us to relationship and community. And I think some of the bigger miracles are God melting a hard heart when key events happening and bringing people back together who are estranged. I think I see miracles all the time. I can do a funeral and have family members who haven't talked in years, and the loss of that loved one and their shared grief suddenly melts away old wounds and allows them to communicate in ways they hadn't in years. I see little things like that all the time. I do believe miracles happen. I believe most of the time the miracles work within the framework of how God makes and sustains and continually creates the world. But I also believe God has the ability to do things outside of what we perceive, because our perceptions were designed to be limited so that we could function and enjoy the amazing creation God has made. Well, thanks for joining me for Questions I Get Asked.